Good afternoon, guys. It's 1 o'clock here in the UK. Okay, I've got poor Toby on, you on. We're just waiting for him to come on, guys, and then we get started. I hope you're all well and doing okay. Good, good, good. And don't forget, guys, I don't have to tell you what to do. Hiya, Paul.
Hello?
Hello. Hello. How are you?
Hello?
Hello.
I'm,
How are
how
you?
you doing? Good. I'm just trying to get my camera working here. It's fussy this morning. Give me a second. We got a few minutes?
We've started. We've
We've started. Oh, okay. Cool.
we started at 1 o'clock, and we're live on air and on radio and on podcast.
Okay. How are you?
I'm okay. Thank you very much. Anyway, tell everybody about yourself.
Well, why don't you start with the easy questions? I was a professional musician for 23 years, from up until the age of 39, until I got tinnitus on January the 6th, 2002. And then once I had tinnitus, I had a couple of years of really bad, I don't know, frustrating times. Let's put it that way. I had a lot of depression, and I kind of lost my recording contract. I had a recording contract with Arcadia out of the US, and it kind of disintegrated because I just couldn't concentrate. So my wife and I lost our house because, you know, if I'm not playing and not performing, I'm not getting paid. I'm not making albums. I'm not getting paid. And we moved in with my parents temporarily. I mean, you know, that's kind of like epic fail, right? It's like you're 40 years old and you move in with your parents for a couple of months. It's kind of like you've lost all sense of value and worth. And then, I mean, this is a really, really long story. You want me to keep going?
Go ahead.
So, I don't know. I think my wife just got totally frustrated with me because I wasn't very attentive, or I just wasn't paying attention, and I lost all meaning and lost all motivation, and she got very frustrated with me. So one day she's watching Oprah, and she goes and she drives to a city that's about an hour away, and she buys a book that she saw on Oprah by a guy by the name of Gary Zukop's called Seed of the Soul. He wrote a bunch of books called Soul Stories, and she brings it back and she kind of throws it in my lap and she says, "Here, you read this. You need to fix yourself." And I'm like, I'm not reading that. It's like, what do they know about music or jazz or anything that I was about in my life? So she read it, and then she joined a soul group in Toronto based on the book. Back then, you know, the internet wasn't really what it is today, so they got together in person, and she gets invited to this meeting in Toronto, which was about a couple hours from where we were. We jump in the car, we drive to Toronto, and we end up at this address that is, and by the way, I didn't really want to go. She dragged me kind of kicking and screaming into the car. And she's like, "You're driving me." I'm like, "Okay." I drove her. So we get to this house, and it was at I don't know if anybody knows anything about Toronto, but York Mills and Bayview is kind of like one of the richest areas of Toronto. And we drive up to this house, and it was apparently it was 9,000 square feet. Now, I've never been in a mansion before because I come from the other side of the tracks. My father was a United Church minister, and we were kind of like hand to mouth. And in the driveway, they had this round circular driveway, and there's all these like high-end cars. There's Jaguar, there was a right-hand drive Jensen, there was a 67 Corvette, there was like, I mean, just all of these really, really fine cars. And I was driving a 1986 Ford Taurus station wagon. I mean, that car had so many rust spots in it, you could shoot a gun and you wouldn't hit anything. So I'm like, I drive down the end of the dead end street, turn around, go to the next street over, park my car, and we walk back, knock on the door. This little lady, she's like 5'2". Her name's Lori Rosenfield, bless her heart. She answers the door and she goes, "Oh, you must be Paul and Nancy. Come on in." And I'm like, well, what am I getting myself into here? And there was about 20 really, really nice people hanging out in this huge atrium. I mean, the ceiling must have been like 30 feet. You can interrupt me, by the way, anytime you want.
No, I'm listening. I'm listening.
There's like this, just, I don't know. These are really happy people. And I've never really, I don't know, most of the musicians that I knew were kind of all like angry jazz musicians. They just seemed like a bunch of happy people to me. I felt completely like a fish out of water. Anyway, I listened to them talk. They had a meeting. They talked about the book, or Gary's books, and I didn't really understand what they were talking about. It was a very spiritual group. Anyway, after the meeting, and I didn't say anything. After the meeting, I'm standing against the wall eating free food, which was really nice. And Lori Rosenfield comes up to me, and I'm 6'2", right? She looks up at me like this, and she says, "What's your problem?" And I'm like, my wife brought me here, dragged me kicking and screaming. I didn't really want to come, and I don't really understand what's going on, but thanks for the food. I appreciate it. She goes, "Okay, you're coming with me." So she grabs me by the hand. She takes me into the library. Now, I've never met anybody that had a library before. It had one of those ladders that goes around the walls and stuff like that. Anyway, she goes in there and she starts scanning the books, trying to find something interesting, I guess. And I tried to interrupt her a couple times. She goes, "Shh, I'm thinking." She finally reaches up onto the shelf. She grabs this little book. It wasn't a very big book. And she says, "Hold your hand out." I put my hand out like this. And she puts her hand underneath mine. And she puts the book in my hand, puts her other hand on top. And she says, "Okay, here's the deal. I like your wife, and she's a lovely lady, and I'm not so sure about. She can come back anytime, but you're not coming back until you read this book." And I'm like, "Okay." And then she says, "I know you're coming back." And I'm like, "How do you know that?" And she goes, "Because I want my book back." So, I'm like, "Okay." So I went home that night. I got nothing else to do. I'm not working or anything. And it was a book called The Alchemist. It was a book written by Paulo Coelho, a very famous Brazilian author. It's been translated into like 100 languages. And I remember reading that book when I was a kid, but when you're a kid, you don't really think about it. And I read it, and it's just a simple story about some shepherd boy who gets lost in the world and tries to figure out his way and finds his way back home, and then finds his purpose and his joy where he had started. And it just kind of had this impact on me. Like, okay, life's not all bad. My tinnitus, maybe, I don't know, like I contemplated suicide a couple of times because it was really bad. It still is, by the way. And I go back for the next meeting. It was like a couple of weeks later. I go back. I take the book back. She takes me back into the library, and she gives me another book. And that went on for like, I don't know, 20, 30 weeks, something. I read a stack of books. And as I'm reading them, I'm starting to feel better. Like, these books are inspiring and motivating. And I'm starting to learn things that I'd never learned before. The only thing I knew was Christian dogma. And I start feeling better. That there's a problem though there, because I'm still not producing. And men, when we're not producing, we don't really feel much worth. But I didn't really want to know what I wanted to do. I was kind of fed up with the music business and kind of fed up with that whole scene. And then finally, she gives me this book. In fact, I don't know if it was her, but this book ended up in my hands. I'm pretty sure it was her, called The Pilgrimage, written by the same guy, Paulo Coelho. And it was a book about walking across Spain on the Camino de Santiago to find his sword. And I thought it was fiction. And then after reading the book, a short time later, I remember seeing a newspaper article sitting. This is Burford, Ontario. It's a small town outside of Brantford, which nobody knows except Wayne Gretzky's from Brantford, who I grew up with. And I see this article on the table about some guy who'd walked this pilgrimage in Spain. And I'm like, oh my God, it's real. I thought, okay, that's a sign. I got to go do this thing because I don't know what to do with the rest of my life. So, and I didn't have any money. So I applied. This is interesting. I applied to Canada Council for the Arts, which is a wing of the Canadian government, to get a grant to write music about this Camino that I'd never been to before. Like, I'll go walk across it and I'll be inspired and I'll write, 9 symphonies, which I did. And I sent the grant in. They refused it. I changed the date, sent it back, and they accepted it. They gave me $12,000. Here, go walk the Camino de Santiago. Here's plane ticket, whatever. And we look forward to hearing your music. And I'm like, okay, that sounds good. Went to Spain. Took a month and a half to walk across this thing. I wrote music the entire time. I actually wrote 9 symphonies while walking, which is kind of cool. And I recorded them sometime later. But anyway, I'm halfway through the journey and I break my ankle coming down some mountain, getting into Burgos. I ice my ankle for like 3 days. I didn't know it was broken because I didn't have enough money to go see a doctor. So I just ice it and I just kept on walking. And when I got to the end of the pilgrimage, like about a month and a half later, and I get to Santiago, and then I walk another 100 kilometers to Finisterre. It's about another 60 miles to Finisterre, called End of the Earth in French, even though it's in Spain. and I, Finisterre, right? End of the earth. That's what it means. Because back before the New World was discovered, that was the furthest point Western Europe you could get.
Yeah.
It's just this tiny little fishing village in Spain, right? When I arrived there, I realized something. I have this, like, how some people have like aha moments or epiphanies or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? I realized that I've actually completed something. Like something that, a lot of times we set out, we take on projects and we never complete them. Like I've done projects my whole life. Some get completed, most do not. And in this particular case, it seemed like a monumental project to complete. I got lost 7 times. I broke my ankle. I hurt myself a couple of times. I mean, the pain kept just kind of moving around my body. And when I got back to Canada, I started thinking about that. It's like, okay, what if, and I got this from all the books that I had read, what if I just pick a destination and I commit myself to that? So whether it takes 2 months, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever, how long it takes, eventually I'll get there. It doesn't matter how many times I hurt myself. Doesn't matter how many times I get lost. I'll figure it out, but I have to know exactly what that is. So rather than pick an actual physical destination, I picked you know how often in life we have these goals that we want things in our life that we can't possibly do or afford or whatever. And I picked something that, nobody in my family's ever had. Nobody in my immediate or extended, my entire network of friends, no one has ever had this thing. And it was always something in my mind, like, if I were rich, what would I buy? So I picked it, kind of looked it up in a book and looked at a couple magazines and looked on the internet. I finally came across this picture of something that was really cool. and I stuck it on my mirror in this house that we had purchased. I mean, we begged, borrowed, and steal to buy this house. It was $117,000. It was a junk house, and I renovated it with my bare hands and just started to work, right? And I put this picture on my mirror. Approximately 3 years later, I went and bought it. Because everything just sort of like my attitude changed, my perspective changed. Tinnitus was no longer a problem, but something to overcome, something to get past. Something, it's like a roadblock. It's like anything. Break your ankle, get tinnitus, whatever. It's like you get over it, and you finally figure out that the only thing you can do is pick destinations, and if you help enough people along the way get to their destinations, help enough people get what they want, and you can have what you want. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that was kind of like my new attitude, right? So I just started helping.
Can I just ask you a few questions?
Yeah, of course.
Where the I love listening to your story. It's brilliant, really, really good. Are you still married? Are you still married?
Yes, fortunately. Same woman, 26 years.
Congratulations.
Hey, thank you.
Fortunately.
I mean, she went through a lot, right?
Well, yeah, I'm married to you, and I say that all the time. But I love my wife, and you got to love your wife because they're the boss, isn't they? Anyway, the trouble is, look, do you still feel suicidal today?
I have to say, yeah, I do. I mean,
right. So why do you feel suicidal today? Is there a lot of things going on in your life?
Yeah, so there's a few things. So in February of 2020, I came back from Las Vegas just before COVID started. And my wife and I have learned that we love to travel. So we travel a couple of months every year. And we had we went to Italy just before that. We went to Italy for a month, and then we went to Las Vegas over Christmas time. I have a small family, so it doesn't matter where we go. So my wife and I and my son and his girlfriend went to Las Vegas for 2 weeks, and I went skiing in Utah just after that. So we drove, not Utah, yeah, Utah. So we drove from Las Vegas to Utah. It's like 7 hours. Did some skiing. When we got back, I must have picked up something on the plane. Could have been COVID, but who knows? I picked up a bug on the plane, I think, and then I got. Oh my God, I've never been that sick. I rarely get sick. Maybe once every 5 years, I might get a bad head cold or something like that. Because I eat well. I'm in good shape. Whatever. Tinnitus is my only real problem, physically. And I've forgotten what had happened the first time around. So if you go back to 2002, I took some over-the-counter medication called Contact C. I'm pretty sure you've heard of it.
Yeah.
If you actually open the little white paper that they put in the box, the first side effect is ringing in the ears. I didn't read nobody ever reads the paper, right? And I took this Contact C. I woke up the next day, and that's when this screaming tinnitus was in my head. And then after 20 years, I'd forgotten that. I don't know. I was just so congested in February of 2020 that I had completely forgotten that decongestants are bad for me. And I took one, and I woke up like literally the next day, and my tinnitus had literally doubled in volume. Now it's never gone down since day one, but now it's like twice as loud, and it hasn't subsided. It's been now, since February 2020. And in this last year, it's been tough. Really hard. Like in this last year and a half, it's been really hard because it's much, much louder than it was for the last 20 years. So I've kind of had to relearn how to deal with that. And it's 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 started to make me think about, okay, well, this is like, it's not good. So there's a couple of things I do. I actually put a very popular video on YouTube on things that I do, and I create a rich sound environment. And I have my phone here that I have like, it's like pink noise. I don't know if I can play it for you, but I have it on like almost all day. Can you hear this?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Do you hear that?
Yeah. Yeah, I can.
Yeah. So that's good because it kind of cancels out a lot of it, and it's like soothing. So I just kind of learned to deal with it. The other thing too is that in Ontario, where I am at the moment in Toronto, we have the most severe COVID restrictions on planet Earth, and the shots. So you can't do anything in Ontario right now unless you're double vaccinated. So you can't go to restaurants, you can't get on a plane, you can't go to public events. The only thing you can do is go to a grocery store. And the problem with that is that there are reports of tens of thousands of people reporting tinnitus as a side effect to all of the vaccines, to anything mRNA or mRNA or whatever the hell it is. And that concerns me. So if you actually Google tinnitus plus the vaccine, you're going to read like literally like there's article after article and TV report after TV report of tens of thousands of people reporting tinnitus, and people who have tinnitus reporting the volume going up. Now, if I get another volume hike, I am done. Like I can't. I mean, I've now dealt with 2 big volume hikes in my life, and I don't know if I can deal with another one. If it like doubles in volume now, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
So, Paul, let's flip the coin. So, what I want to talk about now is the good side about you, because you are talented, Paul, aren't you?
Talented?
Yeah.
I have abilities that have been practiced and honed over the years. I would say that I was born with probably a propensity to understand or to like or to love music.
Yeah, yeah. Now,
So
stop there. Let's listen to this.
Piano recording of the Days in Wine and Roses jazz piano, and I'm going to come back and talk about it. The thing about the Days of Wine and Roses is it's absolutely one of the most popular standards to play because it has fingering in the key of F that is very conducive to playing solos. So if you're looking for something fairly easy to play, it fits under the fingers, and you want to know how to approach it from a solo piano perspective, then this is the video for you. We're going to play it first, play a couple of choruses solo, and then we're going to come back and talk about it. And we're going to get started right now. Okay, so let's start off by playing the Days of Wine and Roses jazz piano version, and then we're going to come back and talk about it. Let's get going. Hey, you can probably stop that anytime.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I was just kind of like,
Yeah,
I was,
I can play the piano.
yeah, and you're very talented of it.
Well, I've been playing since I was 8 years old. So that's a lot of years to learn how to do something properly. I actually started where you got that, I started a YouTube channel as a project about 5 months ago, and I'm totally committed to it. I post 5 videos a week. I've grown the channel in that 5 months to, I think we're approaching 800 subscribers now. Not everybody's going to want to subscribe to this thing because it's for advanced musicians. It's basically for advanced to professional musicians, trying to help them uh, become better players, maybe get recording contracts, make better
Yeah,
albums, do that kind of stuff. So it's not for everybody, and that's why it's not 7,000 followers or 70,000 followers. It's
yeah.
700 to
It doesn't
800
it
right
doesn't
now.
matter how many followers it is, Paul, as long as you're doing something. And but what I was trying to say just now about kind of like about being suicidal and everything, you've got a talent there. I was trying to show everybody that you've got a wonderful talent. You've been playing the piano for years, and the trouble is, with that talent, you know, you can help a, a lot of people. You know what I mean?
I'm trying. I'm doing the best I can. Like I say, I'm committed to the project. I'm committed to re-entering the music. I haven't been in the music business since 2002. So the last concert I did was at Carnegie Hall in 2018, which is just a few years ago. But I haven't been in the music business for a long time. The reason why I did that concert is just because I don't know. I knew somebody who knew somebody who got me into Carnegie Hall, where I got a standing ovation. So that was kind of fun. But uh, I think I definitely have purpose. I'm definitely still running my business. I'm helping people through my music and my marketing talents. But I got to tell you, it's a daily struggle with tinnitus. It's hour to hour, minute to minute. Like right now, it's early morning here, and it's screaming in my head. I've got headphones on, which is like the worst thing you can do for tinnitus is to wear headphones. Um, but anyway, it's like I agree with you. I do have some talent, and I help where I can.
Yeah, and honestly, and I knew a bit about you, and when you came on and said that I want to do something, I thought I'm delighted, and I was looking forward to having you on because you are very, very talented, and I was looking forward to today to having you on, and I said to
Yeah,
my
me
wife,
too. I apologize for my technical difficulties coming on early. I should have been more prepared, but for some reason it just I don't know. I woke up late or whatever. But
I'll tell you what I would love to do because we are about helping people here. We're about last year in the COVID, we started off with around about 5 or 6 people, and it built up, and now we got around about 63,000 people on here.
that's amazing. Good for you. I
And
that's I wish I could do that.
and we help people with mental. We get all sorts of people on. We help people with all sorts of things. We got counselors on here that if we need someone to talk to and everything, we have actors on here. We have people to tell their story, and you just told us the story about you, and that's only the majority of it. Can I just ask you sometime to come back and play the piano for us?
Of course, anytime. It's a little bit it's trickier with StreamYard or Zoom. I have to make some modifications to the way we stream, but yeah, I can do it for sure.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much. I'll get my wife to kind of like contact you because she does all that, and because you know, I want to hear more. I just love the way you. I just love your music, and I think I keep saying it. You're a very talented chap, and I think you've got a lot going for you. I know at the moment you're going through quite a bit with your illness and everything, but I think the motto here at Crossroads is you never give up.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Um, I
I've been
think,
Paul.
yeah.
I've been to a bridge. I've been to a bridge, and I went and took myself off it. I've had enough of life, and this is. I'm going to tell you something now. I sometimes every day is a struggle,
Yeah.
but you know what keeps me going? It's my wife, my family, everybody around me.
Yeah, that's the same for me. I keep thinking about what I would be leaving behind. Um, I definitely have a very loving wife, and I have a wonderful son, 24. Adrian moved out when he was 18 and started his life because he was so motivated to do that. And he just bought his first house. And, I don't want to miss any of that. I don't want to miss my grandkids. And, I understand what you're saying. And I agree. It's, you have to find a reason to get out of bed, and you have to be self-motivated and self-disciplined in order to carry out the projects you need to carry out in order to keep going. And that's what I'm
Yeah,
trying to do. I mean, I'm
yeah,
I'm I'm actually making a concerted effort to do that.
good, good. So, what we're doing, we're going to contact you, and we're going to ask you to play some piano for us for about half an hour to an hour or so, if that's
Okay,
okay.
sure.
And because we want to do that. Um, Before I go, when was it? When was the point in your life you thought, right, I had enough. I want to give up. I just want to leave this damn world and everything. Was it any point in your life?
I think it was probably the first 2 to 3 months, maybe four, with when I got tinnitus. I think that was the hardest part. It's like, how am I going to deal? How am I going to go through the rest? Learning that it's not temporary. That was hard, right? I'm going to have to deal with this sound, and I'm a musician, right? It's like, you can't just add this high pitched ringing to my head and expect me to be okay with that. And
Yeah,
that's basically what I had to figure out. I had to be okay with it because it's not going away. It's never gone away. It's never decreased in volume, and it's only gotten worse. So it's kind of like, in the first 4 months, when you come to the realization that this is now your life, that's not an easy thing to do. And I was on some tinnitus chat rooms at the time, and there was a lot of people. And over the years, I've written hundreds of articles about tinnitus. I've done videos on tinnitus. I have a, if you actually go to YouTube and you type in, what's the most effective treatment for tinnitus, I'm number one. My video is number one. It gets, I don't know, 10,000 views or something. Anyway,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah,
Um, the in that video, I talk about the things that I do. I talk about the top 10 things that I do for my tinnitus. But even while I'm doing those things, I say to people, I like, if you're new to this thing, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be hard for the first few months,
mm,
because you come to the realization that this is it. You now have this, you never know silence again. In fact, I in those early days, I wrote an article for that. Well, I actually didn't write it. I was interviewed for an article for the American Tinnitus Association, and it was put in their journal. And it was about, this musician who had lost his career from tinnitus. And I even doing that, I mean, I know I'm trying to be helpful and things like that, but I'm still struggling. Like, it's
mm,
it's it's
mm.
so loud. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah, yeah.
incredibly. I've talked to other people with tinnitus, and they say, yeah, I have trouble sleeping now and then, and I have trouble with this. So I realize that I'm in the smallest percentage of people where it's just super loud. And
When
I've
you
been audiologists and stuff, and they tell me that too. So it's like,
When you lost your house,
yeah,
did you blame it on yourself where you said, "Oh damn, I've got this illness and everything. It's my fault,
yeah,
and did you say to your wife, well, I don't know why you're with me, you know, was there
yeah.
any of that?
Yeah, yeah. Word for word, basically.
Was it? You know, but see, the trouble is, I think what you got to realize is that if your wife didn't love you, she wouldn't be there right now, wouldn't she?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her,
Yeah.
for sure. And
Okay.
she'll tell me that too.
Yeah. So the trouble is, though, Paul, we can have you can have your illness in one ear and your wife in the other ear.
Yeah, I think I have both in both ears. But anyway,
That's it. Yes. You know what. Our wives are like. Eh? Just make sure that they're boss and we won't get any trouble.
well, Nancy's been amazing. Like, but she has her own health issues now too. We're older, and we support each other now. Back then, it was pretty much her supporting me, and she was my manager in my music career. She booked me all over the world, and I'm grateful for that. But when I got tinnitus, it's kind of like we're now both out of work.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
wasn't, and we had to figure out what we're going to do with the rest of our lives, and that's kind
I
of
know.
why I went to walk across Spain, because I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, what is my life going to be without music?
Yeah. I
And
thought. I
mhm.
when I heard that you were doing that, going along, walking along Spain, going around Spain, I thought, oh no, not another Forrest Gump. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You know?
kind of,
Yeah.
kind of.
Anyway, Paul, thanks very much. Thank you very much for coming on and telling me your story. And how do people get in contact with you if they want to get in contact with you?
So there's a couple of ways. You can go to Jazz Mental on YouTube, which
Yeah.
is probably the best place to hear music and learn about tinnitus and things like that. That's probably the best place. And then I suppose if they want to contact me directly, just go to paultobey.com, which isn't the greatest website. I haven't worked on it in a long time. And you'll find some contact information there. So just Google my name and you'll feel.
Yeah, just Google it. It is all over the place. I tell you what, there's
Yeah.
a big story about Paul. He's travelled he's had concerts all over the world and everything. We're not even touched the surface with Paul yet, so that's why I'm trying to get him back. So if you agree, if we can get you back, because we haven't even touched the surface, have we, with you?
Yeah, there's more.
There is definitely more, guys.
There's more.
Definitely, lots more.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Paul. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure. Good to
Thank
meet
you.
you.